Today, we're going to cut right through all the noise to really understand one single high-stakes moment: President Trump's dramatic ultimatum to Iran. Okay, so let's just dive right into this. On Monday, President Trump held a live press conference that really set the stage for a tense showdown with Iran. And believe me, he did not mince words. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what was said, the whole military rescue mission that served as the backdrop for all this, and of course, the critical question that the entire world is now asking. Let's start with the most dramatic part of the whole press conference, right? The specific threat and that very, very hard deadline issued by the president. What's so striking here is the shift away from just kind of vague posturing. This isn't some general threat. It's a very specific promise to target civilian infrastructure like bridges. And that represents a major escalation in rhetoric. And the threat was incredibly detailed. Trump laid out a precise 4-hour attack plan. It would start at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and it would target bridges and power plants. This left almost no room for any misinterpretation. And just to reinforce the point, he explicitly confirmed a previous threat he'd made, actually saying, Stone Ages, yeah. So this wasn't some kind of slip of the tongue. It was a very deliberate doubling down on just how severe this ultimatum was. So what prompted all these incredible threats? Well, the press conference wasn't even about Iran to begin with. It was actually framed to celebrate a major American military success. The president used this operation, which he called historic, as this powerful demonstration of American military capability and its resolve to, as he put it, leave no American behind. And the scale of this mission, it was just massive. To retrieve just one remaining airman, the operation involved 155 aircraft. We're talking bombers, fighters, refueling tankers, many of them used for what the president called subterfuge. That's exactly how Trump described how difficult it was to find the second pilot. He said the pilot evaded capture by thousands of Iranian forces for nearly 48 hours on the ground, and at one point was even hiding in a mountain crevice. The CIA director went even further, calling it an audacious operation and a race against the clock. He confirmed that a whole deception campaign was used to confuse the Iranian military, who were, desperately hunting for that airman. So here's the crucial point. This whole story of American heroism and military might was the narrative framework. It was the lead-in to the ultimatum, basically saying, look what we can do. Now here are our demands. But, amidst all the threats, there was this mention of a deal. So what were the conditions? What would Iran have to do to avoid these devastating strikes? As you can see here, the two positions were just fundamentally at odds. The U.S. demanded a deal on its own terms, while Iranian state media was reporting it had already rejected a ceasefire and was calling for a definitive end to the war. And this is a really fascinating contradiction. In one breath, the president threatened to completely destroy Iran's infrastructure, and then in the very next, he offered to help rebuild their nation, but only if they made a deal. This kind of suggests that despite the incredibly harsh public rhetoric, the diplomatic channels weren't completely dead. There was still a flurry of activity happening behind the scenes as that 8 p.m. deadline got closer and closer. Okay, so this all leads us to the final and I think most important question raised by the reporting from this event. It's the question on everyone's mind as that clock ticks down. And the source material, it really presents two conflicting pieces of evidence here, which creates this huge amount of uncertainty. See, on the one hand, history shows a pattern. The president has made dramatic threats against Iran before during this conflict, only to later de-escalate or just not follow through with the most extreme actions. But on the other hand, there's a crucial difference this time. The BBC's Washington correspondent notes that the sheer specificity of this threat, the targets, the timeline, that 8 p.m. start, it makes it fundamentally different. It's a promise that is much, much harder to walk back from. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, the press conference took a military success story and used it to launch a potential massive escalation. It's created this high-stakes standoff that has left the entire international community just holding its breath. And that really is the core question, isn't it? Is this extreme pressure just a negotiation tactic, or is it the literal prelude to war? It seems the world is about to find out. Thanks for joining this explainer.